Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We are starting extra early tonight.
Good evening, I guess.
Because we are so excited about tonight's episode. And we have a special guest advertiser here with us tonight.
Hello. I'm Layton, and I actually am starting a shoe business, and if you would like to stop by or you would like to get a pair, just message my mom or my dad at 270-943.
No.
That's
On
good
Facebook,
enough.
yeah, Facebook or
On
Instagram.
Facebook or Instagram.
There you go.
Here is my second pair of shoes that I did.
That's right.
So what's on them?
And this is for my mom, and this is a camera, and these are like camera symbols. So if you would like to have a pair, just message mom or dad on Facebook or Instagram. Bye.
Because you're not allowed to have one.
Because I'm not allowed to have either of them.
That is right.
That is correct. Oh, way to tear it up.
Just watch the light.
Don't hit the light this time. So that was our special guest, Layton Bowler. And she didn't tell you the name of her business that she's starting, but it's called If the Shoe Fits. So
Pretty clever.
So
real words.
You all, we got on here early, not only because we're excited about tonight, but we have been home together for 2 long weeks. And I need some people to talk to other than my husband. Because Jesus, take the wheel. Nothing?
I'm just listening.
You all.
I'm a sponge.
We are iced in. We're not snowed in.
But
we're
today was
iced
fun.
in. Oh, today
we
was
haven't
fun.
got to do that in a long time.
4 years.
Yeah,
We haven't got to go sledding in 4 years.
I know.
Because Miles was a baby last time we
looking
went.
at my face for just
I'm not.
Yes, you are. You're looking at my face.
Yes,
Nachos on it?
No, I'm just looking at you.
It's weird.
This is what happens when you're home together too long.
What's up, guys?
Keep it civil. Okay, Jennifer. Okay, but
Jennifer, keep it civil. Do you know who you're talking to?
Do you know who you're talking to? We've built up a lot of hype around this episode, and I promise you all, it is not going to disappoint. It's not.
He accidentally slipped.
You know, can I just say something really fast?
Where's your gloves at? Oh, there they are. Or glove.
Okay, can I just say something?
The whole episode like this.
You all, we've done 21 days. This is like episode 13. I'm not freaking kidding you that with every episode or every show or every time I've gone to, write, I'm not joking. It's like, I don't know if God's trying to teach us a lesson or the devil's trying to test me to be like, you need to get it together before you talk to these people. Maybe it's Jesus. Maybe Jesus is like, okay, you're going to practice before we get to this episode. But y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I thought you were going to run with it. No, so the funny thing is, I don't even remember what night was it. What night was it?
oh, I don't know. It was you said it on here. I'm pretty sure. You
Did
said
I say
it.
it during the...
said it on here, or maybe afterwards. You said, and I quote, "We need to just get in a really good fight the night before we do the fight episode."
Yeah, I totally did.
And we did. We missed y'all last night.
We did. It was a humdinger, and I had forgotten about saying that until this morning, and I was like, "Holy crap! Maybe I have some type of power."
It's that worm in your head. Okay, show them. Do you all see this? I don't know what it is, but
let's
he has
see.
this.
Don't want to be self-conscious about something. Hey, live viewers.
But it doesn't look
You
like
might
a
as well
vein.
ask them. Hey, y'all see that booger? Yeah. Here, let me get closer. There's a vein.
It's not. I don't think it's a vein. Jennifer said, so that's what happened last night. Yes.
But it's so crazy that I said that. I jinxed us. Like, I totally
You did.
jinxed us.
It was all your fault. And I don't know.
I totally
people,
said
if you knew, but yesterday was Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
It was Valentine's Day.
We'll just go all through it for everybody.
Let's do it.
And that way they'll know what happened. And we'll identify the shortcomings and how the fight was not a productive fight.
Maybe we can be like commentators. Like, we replay back.
I wish we could have like a screen. So like, if
No.
we'd have videotaped the fight.
They did not need a videotape of
That's
last
true.
night's fight.
That's true.
No.
That's
No.
true. Yeah, very true.
Because
We
you
know
all
y'all
would
have all
have
been there.
you all would have judged us and never looked at us the same again.
Yeah,
But you've been there too.
but we're just real.
And Jennifer's actually probably been there in some of our fights.
Yeah, that's true. She knows. Love Jen.
She's the
Appreciate
best.
you.
She's the best. So we've got a few more minutes. Let's talk about your all's day. Did you go sledding with the kids? Did
Oh,
you
it was awesome.
stay inside? What did you do? So we're gonna kind of veer away from fighting so we can like pump it back up here in just in like the next 3 minutes.
Pump.
So we went sledding and it was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
It was awesome. Actually,
So nice.
after the fight we had last night, and nobody in our we didn't sleep. Jamie nor I, neither one slept, and so
Running on
exhausted,
fumes.
exhausted. But anyway, he goes, "I know what'll make you feel better," and I said, "What?" I trusted him. I just trusted him, and he said, "Put on your house shoes," and I said, "Oh, okay, but I will if I must." And he said, "We're gonna run outside. We're gonna make one lap." And I was like, "Why not? Why not?"
And I was right, wasn't I?
I felt great.
You should try that.
It really
sometime.
wasn't. It really. I thought that like I was gonna be super cold, but
I don't know if like you all ever do that, but sometimes just like walking out
I hate
extreme
being cold.
cold, like the jolt
Mhm.
just makes you feel like
But I hate being cold. Like
Yeah.
I there's nothing that I hate. Well, I'm sure there are things that I hate worse, but I despise being cold. I would rather sweat than freeze. I just would.
they say though, like, you know, people take like ice baths and stuff
Mhm.
like that. There's
never done
like
that.
certain like healing qualities to swapping your body from extreme climates. So
Mhm.
if you go like to an ice bath and then you step out of the ice bath and go straight into the sauna, there's like healing qualities for your body. So, but I like just running outside.
Not me. Not me.
It worked today. It was good. It was
So
real good.
So, yeah, just can't do the cold. But it really didn't like it. I was kind of shocked. Like it didn't. It
wasn't
really.
bad. I don't. It wasn't really windy.
Yeah, if it had been windy. But if I'm really honest, the only reason I haven't started 75 hard back again is because it's like 10 degrees outside. I mean,
That's like the best part of it.
You do not get to be the judge of what's the best part for me.
Yeah, you should like it.
It's time to start. You know the drill.
No, it's not.
Jesus,
It's
take the wheel.
It's 7:59 actually.
Or take the boxing glove or broom from my hand. All right, you all, you know the drill. We're getting ready to start. We're recording
Kick it
this.
off here.
We're going to record
on
this
each foot.
as our podcast. It will be on here where you can watch. We also have started a YouTube channel, so we're housing all these there because people have asked me, they're like, okay, which episode did you talk about this? So I'm trying really hard to be more organized. And when you're home for 2 weeks, you can do things like that. So we'll see how long it lasts.
So cool. Already.
Disclaimer, I'm ready to go back to work. I love what I do. I love my job. I love being a mother, but I'm tired of sweeping floors.
Yeah, no joke. It's time.
Okay. Did you just call me a bad mother?
No, I'm saying I feel the. Oh my gosh! See this right here. All right. Anyway,
All right,
we're gonna start this
Let's
episode.
do this.
1, 2. Oh, oops.
Hey everybody, I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Jamie.
and we are here for the final round. See what I did there? See what I did there?
Nice.
With love and marriage, fighting fair, or just fighting.
Or yeah.
Just
or fighting in general.
Yeah. Now, how do you want to start this episode? Do you want to start with us like actually punching each other, or do you want to just dive into what happened yesterday?
Let's punch each other.
Not my face, not my face.
Really?
Not my face. Oh, I'm a wuss. Okay. Slugger, Mike Tyson. So, let's just start a full disclaimer for the people that weren't here earlier and listeners, about, let's preface this.
Okay.
Preface.
There you go.
Excuse
You're
me.
looking for preface.
Preface. Very, very tired. Preface your comment that you made. Like
Oh,
a week
yeah.
ago. Let's preface
Okay,
this.
guys. So on here, I'm pretty sure I said verbatim. I'm pretty sure
Verbatim.
we should just really get into a good fight the night before the fighting episode, and that way we're really prepped to talk about it. And that was a huge mistake.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
didn't
sure
care. I just
that I
wanna-
said here,
wanna
and
punch
I
myself.
said, "How about we don't?" Well, you won.
Well,
You won.
yeah. And
So,
that is
we're
not
really
one
sorry.
I wanted to win.
We're really sorry that we were not here last night to talk about social media, but at some point we will. Some point we
Sure,
will.
yeah.
But last night we were in the middle of a knockdown dragout.
Yep, we were in a fight.
So,
So should I lead in?
let's. Yes, babe. Please leave.
So what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about this fight. Okay?
We're gonna
Because
talk
it's not
about
an
other
example
fights we
of
have.
a good fight.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you guys why it got where it did, and what my role was in that. Okay, so
And
here
I
we
don't
go.
do anything wrong in fights, so I'm just gonna let him talk.
So-
I'm totally just playing. But when you're in a fight, you know, that is something I would say.
Okay, so here's how it went. I was completely right, and she was completely wrong. Okay, just kidding. Okay, so yesterday was Valentine's Day, and the day before I had made plans to take us. We were going to go to Nashville. We're going to stay in Nashville. They're downtown, and then go out to dinner at the House of Cards there and spend the night. Yada yada.
And all this was a surprise to me.
It's going to be an awesome evening. Like, we were pumped about it because you have to dress up super nice. There's a dress code. All I had sent her was what the dress code was. I was like, yes, this is going to be great. She's going to love it. Okay. So, but things did not work out for us.
By the time we got ready to leave, there were cars slid off the road.
Yeah. So,
Not
and
good.
that just is what it is. No issue. So we come home, had dinner, still put on all our fancy stuff. We still just moved our trip to another weekend because I do want to do it very badly. So anyway, had a great night, went to bed, all that good stuff. Now we get up the next day and it's Valentine's Day, okay? And so we start the day, not a bad day, but man, so really, I'm just going to tell you, I crapped the bed all day during Valentine's Day. You know what? I'm just going to say it. Like, I shit all over the bed all day long, and I'm sorry for cussing because I'm not a cusser, but that's what I did. Like, I shit and missed opportunities all day long. So what happened was, and I know, like I want to walk you through everything that led to it because I can pick it apart and I know what happened. I didn't do the things that I should have. That I talked. You know, there was no flowers. There, I'd given her card the night before, which was a good card.
It was
it was
good
clever
card.
because it's something we had been talking
But I wasn't
about.
mad about the flowers.
Yeah. No. So anyway, all that stuff aside, I was in like this real distant mood.
Very distant for
Which
Valentine's Day.
is weird, but I was, and I knew I was. So there wasn't, you know, she had suggested going to brunch. I totally should have done that. no hand holding, none of the stuff that you really should be doing, especially on that.
That
thing.
that he normally does.
Yeah. And so,
And then he suggests we should talk about business.
oh yeah. So we're driving because we've got this deal going on that's been like really causing some anxiety on me just because of time frame. But really bad timing again. Like I'm telling you guys, just all day long I look back and I'm like, oh, just crap all over the bed. I mean, I'm just rolling in it now. It's nasty. Anyway, so we get back and I finally could tell. And then I asked the question.
Okay.
So
okay,
here's where it's about to all go.
You can go into some detail, but let's not go into full detail. Just.
Well, I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm going to begin diffusing what
I was
caused
dancing around, acting silly.
Oh yes. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. And I wasn't paying really attention to it. And then the way I handled the situation afterwards made her feel a certain way. It was not good. Okay, not good. And it all just began to spiral from there. And then here it comes. So I'm gonna give you the juicy stuff. Not like full disclosure, but I'm gonna diffuse for you what I did because I know, men, you may understand this, but it's my goof up and I feel really bad about it. But I want to share with you like where I failed and then where I made it even worse, okay? Because this is one of my tendencies.
Was it when I laid my lingerie right in front of you and
No.
put the laundry like right there and was like, oh, you have more clothes out here?
No,
And
I
you
wasn't
just
even by
was
then.
completely devoid of it.
Yeah, because I was, it wasn't even then. But, which I did say those.
Good. I threw them in the trash.
But okay, so here's how all this went, and this is actually it's really bad because we wish it wouldn't have happened, but
It was for you all.
Yeah, we did it for you guys. I even called it. I was like Babe Ruth. I called my shot. All right. Okay, so I could tell. So I asked. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. I asked. She shared. And then as she continued to share, my heart just continued to sink. Like I felt worse and worse and worse and worse. That's not her fault. She was sharing what I had asked her to share with me. But here's what I do sometimes. And maybe some of you guys are like this, maybe you're not. I was in a place to where I felt so terribly bad for what I'd done that I absolutely could not help myself. I wanted so badly to try and fix it right then, just by talking to her, talking it to death. And I continued rather than like backing off, which I know is what needed to be done, because I know that about Lindsay for the most part, the way we deal with anger. But my fixer came out real bad, and I felt so bad about what I'd done, so upset with myself that I could not stop myself from trying to make this better. And here's the bad side of that. That looks, though it may not be, in the midst of it, looks selfish, because it comes off as if you're just doing it to make yourself feel better, even though that's not the case. But I literally could not stop. So what happened was, numerous times there was a chance I could pull myself back, give her some time to cool off, but I didn't. It would happen in little spurts, and then I would get to feeling so bad again. I was like, I've got to try to make this better, and I would come back in. It would get worse.
About the time that I had was on the treadmill. And I'm working
there
out.
Was there,
and
yeah. There was just the front hand. There was then.
De-stressing.
But that is what happened. So I took something that probably could have been avoided and not been near as severe as it was. But because I went in almost to like this hyper fix-it mode. And I mean, I just goofed. I made the mistake. Like it was on me. But I was in a place to where I felt so bad And I even told you that. Like, was so distraught at what I'd done that I just, like, I literally could not stop myself. I was like, I have to try and fix this right now. And it did not fix it. I made it worse, much worse than what it probably could have been. And that's something that your wife may be different, or you may be different, but I'm a fix-it type of guy. And I've had to really work on that, especially confrontation-wise with Lindsay, because I want to fix it right now. And when you start it and then you want to turn around and fix it immediately, that makes it even worse. So that is, and it pushed us, it just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and was not good. So we laid in a huge fight. I mean, most of the day. It was terrible. But there you go, fixers. I mean, you got to be real cautious of what you're doing there. If you have that type of fix-it mentality, it can be good and it can be bad.
Right.
So.
And with me, you have to just give me my time, because we've had this conversation about that.
And there's
Just
been
let
times
me-
that's happened.
Yeah.
And then times that it has not happened. So, but yeah, I mean,
And then
that's
it just
real.
spiraled. And then,
Yes,
because when you fight and you continue to fight, there's a and then, and it got really bad, because y'all, I can be a psycho, and I kind of turned into, like, I think my brain popped out of my head. Did it pop out of my head? My eyeballs probably did,
Yeah.
because he looked at me. Are you ready for it? You ready for it? He
Ooh,
looked
I'm-
at me and
What's
he
this one
said,
say?
"Well, you didn't get me anything for Valentine's
Oh,
Day."
yes, I did drop that bomb. And there's sometimes in fights, like, and we know this too, like, there is a point of no return.
That was it. That was it.
We like I took a running sprint and long jumped over that line, okay? Because, this is kind of how I envision it. I was running and I was looking. I knew it was going to happen. I'm like, what
And
we
the
gonna do?
word vomit just
What
out
am I
of his mouth.
What am I going to do?
But,
am I going to do this? Are we going to do it? Oh,
Here's
okay.
the thing. I had my headphones in because I was on the treadmill, and I would have never heard him say it had he not taken my earbuds out and paused my music.
Did I do that? I know I paused it. I think I did pull one out, didn't I? Yeah, because we know, and
The eyeballs are
she
hitting.
knows.
Yes.
It's like the one thing that
Yes. Right.
sets me off so bad.
And I was
Everybody
not.
has those.
And
Everybody
I
has
was
those.
not complaining because I didn't get anything for Valentine's Day. So we have to.
No. That's not the.
No.
It was just my.
Flowers.
It was my mannerisms. But I should have done it anyway. But it was my mannerisms, how I handled the day, the distance, and already what was previously not an ideal night. So there was like there was no reason to feel bad. It was good, but we still didn't get to do what we wanted to do. So it's just like you already are like, you feel bad.
And then we're going to add another and then. So he says this to me, and after my crazy goes off,
Head explodes. It's like a volcano.
I proceed to say everything that I know is going to just crush him. Like,
And that's,
crush his soul.
we went to that.
We went to that level.
Bad place.
And there's a lot of things that I said that I can't take back.
Part of a fight.
Part of a fight.
A terrible
And
part of a fight.
That's something that we all know we shouldn't do. And we're guilty of it.
We
both
are.
Both of us are guilty of it.
Yep.
And we got to that place last night. And
We did.
at
Na-
3:30
nasty
this
place.
morning. At 3:30 this morning. 3:30. When neither one of us had slept. Because we're both stubborn. Okay?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, we
we're-
are.
we're both stubborn. And we both,
I got a little stubbornness. In
I
me.
won't say, only when it comes to fighting with me. Like, that's the only time I feel like you're stubborn, is when you are fighting with me. It's like
I don't
you
think
really,
it's true.
it's like you really want to win at that moment. But then you're like, but nobody, I'm not winning. I know. Then we yelled that at each other. You win. You win.
Yeah. Oh, we did that a bunch, which is so dumb because nobody wins. Like there was clearly no winner last night.
That one.
And rarely is there when the fight gets past the point of no return. Okay, really, that's like, and we'll talk about that. It's just not. It's not a good place.
We
to
were
go.
there. So that was our fight last night, and at 3:30 this morning, we both gave in and finally went to sleep.
Yeah.
Semi for a couple hours at least until we had to get up,
We did.
and
Yeah.
now we're
We're here
talking
about fighting. But I just still can't believe I called it. Man, I should never have said that. What was I thinking?
I know. So, what's the first thing that we said? Everything that we did wrong, we did everything wrong last night. Like, we legit did everything wrong. And the thing is, we know better. We know better. I think that we all, maybe you're level-headed. I don't know. I mean, he called me a psycho one time and told me he was going to call my mama, and I came after him with a broom. I do have some crazy tendencies sometimes. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm honest.
The broom was red, I'm pretty sure.
It was. We still have that broom. I did not break it on Jamie. But I want to do.
Has anybody ever done that? Can we get a thumbs up out there?
But so no, don't make these people, don't make these poor people admit to some of the things that like I'm so embarrassed to sit here and admit to.
That's real life.
It's real life, and I hope you don't ever go after your husband with a broom. He'll never let you live it down.
But yes, and we laugh a lot about it.
But don't never call your wife psycho. There's a lot of things that you can say. Crazy, psycho. Jamie knows this. Like, that's why he said it.
I've learned from experience.
That's why he called me that.
I can share these things with you fellows because I have learned from experience. But we've done a lot wrong when it comes to fighting.
And we fight. Like, we fight.
Yeah, we fight hard, and that's not a good thing, but we do try to work on it. And we have gotten better about it. And there are a lot of things that we know about each other and a lot of things that we know about fighting that you should do. We don't always do. Sometimes you're just in that fight and there's a point to where you know that it's not going to be a good one. And you're just not going to even try to employ any of the tactics that could divert you from where we got to last night. And we sit right now, we can talk about it and share with you guys, but the reality is neither one of us wanted to be there.
No. And we can sit here and laugh about it, but there's still, from last night, there's still scars. There's still hurts. And there's things that we haven't dealt with yet, and we're going to have to deal with those. We're going to have to deal with those.
Yep.
So you have to know, right, is dealing with it. When you get past the point of no return, at some point you have to both take a deep breath and say, we got to talk about this calmly and deal with it.
Yep.
So here's some things that we know that you should avoid in a fight. First of all, it's downplaying the situation. Downplaying is huge. Women, you may be like this. Men, you may be like this. I think this is a role that we both partners.
Interchangeable.
It's interchangeable.
Given whatever
depending
the situation is.
depending on what's important to each person. If something's important to Jamie, and I downplay it, the fight gets worse.
Yeah.
If something's a big deal to me and he downplays it, just the same. And when I mean downplay, this is what I mean. I'm upset. I'm crying. I'm yelling because I'm crying. Ladies, have you ever been here? Like, you're not really angry. You're just upset. And so you're talking and you're crying. You're ugly crying and you're yelling. And then they're just sitting there, like, sunk back in their chair.
Yeah, right.
And nothing makes me madder, but it gets louder and it gets more prevalent and the veins start popping out of my head because you're not as mad like you
You
don't
don't
understand
care.
why I'm mad. You don't
Yeah.
you don't
You don't
you
care.
don't understand you don't care why I'm mad. So that is one thing you should not do. I'm not saying that you should both scream and fight back with each other,
No.
but if you've read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, okay, which I tried to understand, but I do understand this part, that one thing you should do in a fight, and this is not me, is be like, so can you tell me why you feel like that?
Well, that's good advice, though.
Yes. So
Maybe not
instead
that
of
easy to do.
responding with a
amidst-
question or responding with a rebuttal or an answer, respond with a question to try to understand. Try to get the
Try
other
to
person.
understand.
And right after I read this book, I did a really good job of it, and then I forgot all about everything I read apparently last night. It went out the freaking window.
Should have known I could have read the book.
So, and hit me with it over the head. Get it together! Get it together!
Don't you remember that chapter?
Oh, I'm reading Dave Ramsey right now, thinking about financial peace. So the second thing you should never do is bring up the past.
Bring up the past. But man, I mean, you're lying if you say you're not guilty of it.
Let's talk about forgiving and forgetting. Y'all, we may try, but we are humans. And we may forget about what the other person did until we get to that fight. And it's like it all comes back.
Yeah.
And then, Jamie, this is,
Then I can
well,
remember it.
tell me when I did that. Tell me when did.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me. Well, do you want a time and date? Let me write it down for you.
Yes, I
okay, I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to put.
Because I'm thinking,
this
well, if
day
you're going
and
to bring
this
it
time.
up, you better be able to
Well,
tell me
you
when
shouldn't
I
ask.
did it.
You shouldn't ask.
You
You shouldn't ask. But that's talking about
But you
if
should
you're
do that.
if you're young, like if you're young into marriage or you're dating, like bringing up a future, like a past ex, something like that. Like don't go there. Don't go there.
It's really bad. Generally, what happens is when, or this is how I think about it. You may be fighting about something, in that situation. You know, your fight is about this specific topic, but the
And
minute
should be isolated.
But yeah, should be
Should.
isolated. But the minute you bring the other person's past back up, you then expand the fight. So now you have moved from just this isolated topic, which is much easier to resolve, and now you begin to dredge up the past. So you're adding to the issue that you're already having by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason you do it is because you're mad, and at that point you are just trying to score a point or
The
to
word
take the
vomit
lead.
to win
or-
just blah, comes
Yeah.
out. You're like, and you can even say, I'm gonna bite my tongue.
And
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
One thing I think is, we didn't talk about this at the beginning, but it's really important. And fights matter and are so hard because, and it is biblical that our tongues are
Weapons.
like the most, like they are like one of the, they can guide and direct your whole life.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, what was it we were reading? They're like a rudder on a ship.
Mm-hmm.
The smallest move one way or the other has this big massive effect up in our life, and our tongue has that capability.
Mm-hmm.
It can rip somebody apart or it can give life.
Right.
The tongue is that important, and it's so important to try your very best to learn to wield it.
And I think the devil uses the
Oh,
tongue in fights
Gosh, yes.
to, you know,
Absolutely.
in marriage, in relationships, the words we say to create fights, to rip people apart.
Yeah.
And
He's sly. He wants
Oh, yeah.
any way in he can.
I agree.
Yep.
But bringing up the past, no. Saying things to be hurtful. So you're married, you know what cuts that other person the deepest. I know.
No pressure points.
I know pressure points. I know what I can say to Jamie to just literally, to just make, like when I'm exploding, I know what to say to him to make him go. Don't I?
Yeah.
I'm good at it.
We
Which
both,
is not a good quality possessed, but I'm good at it when we fight.
and
That's
it
like,
happens.
that's my thing. He's the fixer and I'm the push on that spot.
Oh, it ain't gonna be fixed.
Just saying. But I'm going to work on this.
But I think if you haven't been married very long, you may not know this very well yet. But the longer you're married, you will learn that your spouse has pressure points.
Right.
Things that you can touch that are hurtful or anger them. And what's
I would
so
say,
mind-blowing to me?
Psycho, crazy, anything along those lines, probably going to send them over the edge. That's just an upfront me telling you that. That's not a learned thing. Those are just words I'd probably avoid. Just me. Just me. Just
I
avoid.
completely
Just
agree.
avoid those words.
And I think
Avoid 'em.
what the craziest thing about
Did you
that.
just say crazy?
Yeah, I did. Yes, but I was looking at the mic.
Okay. It's acceptable.
I think that what the craziest thing about when you're at that point in the fight, and maybe you'll agree with me, is that like today or when you look back and you're looking at that point of the fight and the things that you said, I think to myself, I'm like, what was the point of that? Like I achieved nothing. I made it worse. I hurt my spouse, and we're reeling from it today because we have to. You have to get to the place to where you come to each other and you talk through it, and you have to think. So, why was I willing to do that? Was I that angry? Did I want to hurt them? Did I want the last word that bad? Was I literally not hearing anything they said, and all I could think about was what I wanted to say next? You know, those things, and it blows my mind. And I would encourage everybody to like once you've had a fight, because you're going to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like think about that stuff and think, what really good did that part of that fight do? Like, and you know, it just kind of
Right.
And we all do it. I mean,
and we were fortunate today that we had a snow day. But had we not, the two of us would have got up this morning, got dressed, and gone to work, and never resolved anything, and would have created that
I think God was
tension,
looking out for us.
that guilt. You know, that guilt from what you said, what you've done. You know, you hurt because you hurt the other person, and so like that guilt weighs heavy. It weighs heavy on you.
It can pile up on you.
And you know, and when you just have to get up
have
and go
an
about
adverse effect.
right. And I mean, I've seen that, you know, in the last couple of our fights, they've been on Sunday night. And I think it's because the devil wants to ruin our week, because he knows that how you start your day, how you start your week, a lot of times can really determine the rest of the week or how your day goes. And you know, if you are fighting with your husband, I think it affects how you talk to your kids. You know, you know, because you're just you're hurt. You know, you're upset. You feel guilty. You know, and then how work goes.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I mean, it spills over into everything,
right?
Because you feel guilty about what you did, and
it doesn't matter how good you are at putting that game face on, like because we have been.
It's only a facade.
It is, because we have been in knockdown dragouts before at work, at the studio, and Jennifer's probably not watching right now, but if she was, she could attest to this. We can be screaming at each other, and somebody walk in that door, and I promise you would never have a clue.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Welcome to the Red Elephant Studio, where we hope you have a fantastic experience.
But we have worked really hard on that too.
We have, yeah.
Because that's
not
that environment, but that was us working through running
together.
our business together.
Yeah.
So the next one, and again, we're going through a list of like what you need to avoid.
Right.
And then there's going to be times when like you do every one of these. So it's okay. But the important part is to like become more and more conscious of it, and to continue.
You have to be aware
work
that
on
you do it.
Yeah, and that's a part of it. You got to guard yourself, guard your spouse, because there are ways that this can be a productive thing. Mm-hmm. The next one is constantly justifying your actions. So
for example, Jamie said to me last night.
You really wanted to jump in on this.
I did. But I didn't get anything for Valentine's. What did you do for me?
Justify.
But
Yeah. That's a big one. And I think everybody wants to
did
do
you just
that.
call my butt big?
Huh? You know I like your honey. Okay. Very much so. But that's a big one. And I think everybody does it because there's a part of us that doesn't really like to completely admit wrong.
It's the egocentric side of us that doesn't really.
It's just
want
the ego. You don't want to
Your ego.
completely admit wrong. You want to like partially admit it, but then you want to justify it with something. Okay, so like I acknowledge that I'm wrong, but this was why I did it. And a lot of times in a fight, and I mean I do this. Like I'm guilty of it. Like I do it. I don't know if it's a man thing, but I do know that about myself. Is that I don't want to like fully go ahead and admit my wrong like right off the bat. Sometimes I will. And I will say this, I really don't have an issue admitting when I'm wrong.
No.
Sometimes it just takes me a while to realize that like I need to cut the butts out.
And the tone.
And how I'm delivering it. But most of the time I don't have a problem. And I don't know if maybe that's like the fixer part of me because I know that the road to resolution has to generally start with the admission of wrongdoing, you know, at some point.
Right.
So I don't know, and maybe even sometimes I'm just trying to rush that process. And maybe that's where the tone and the unsincerity isn't there yet because I'm trying to just rush to
I'm sorry.
let's fix it now point. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but or I'm
So,
just sorry.
I
And
think I just learned something about myself right there.
Epiphany moment.
Yeah.
But that's good.
I think is my vein.
I
broken?
think talking through this, all these episodes have really helped our marriage. I mean, really and truthfully. But, you know, I can guarantee you, Jamie knows if I'm not being sincere when I say something. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell when he's not
Everybody
being
can
sincere.
pretty
I
well
will
read
look
it.
at him, and this makes him madder than anything. I'll go, he'll say he's sorry. And I'm like, you're not sorry. You're not sorry.
Oh my gosh, that lights my fire.
That is his. That
Oh
is
my
his.
gosh, is there anybody?
But when he, like, it's just, I'm sorry. But
I
when
just
he's
love
truly
how
sorry,
exaggerated that is. I'm sorry.
well, I don't know how else to say it. But when I can tell when, like, he really, I won't say means it because I think he means it. And when he says it the first time, it's just
I
like,
just am not delivering it in the correct
I want
manner
it.
yet.
I want it delivered a certain way, by golly. You apologize to me the right way.
I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure that was a kid crying.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to just slide over there real quick. Let
There you go. And
steer
then
the boat.
the second thing is not listening, only thinking what you're going to say next. And we have talked about that.
That's a good
But
one.
you know, it's a really good one because a lot of times we're not listening to what the other person has to say. We're just automatically thinking about our response, our reaction, our rebuttal, you know, and we're not really taking it in to think, you know, is my next statement going to be something that is an argument? Is it going to be something that builds, like, is it going to be a question as to why? If you struggle with fights in your marriage, and like, I really need to go back and read it, but 7 Habits of Highly Effective People will teach you how to fight, conflict resolution, win-win. And it really, like, fighting for us got good for a while, but and there's a teenage version of that too. So if you need something that's a little bit more on your level, and I struggled to read it, but it really does help. So fighting for a while got better because I saw the light. Sorry,
Sorry, the low battery.
Yeah, I popped up
It's
there.
not going to die. is it?
It's 20% working.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, when you fight, you should, and we know this, be thinking how, like, are we going to pose a question? How can we solve it? What are we going to say that's going to solve it versus backlash? just next. What's next? What's next?
Yes.
The next one is something that leads to a fight. I would say leads to a fight more so than actually being something you don't do in a fight is taking jabs at somebody. I mean, like if you want to fight, if you want to pick a fight, just throw some jabs. Like, yesterday I wasn't trying to pick a fight with Jamie, but I was hurt and I was upset. And I took some jabs at him, which led to him asking me if I was upset about something because I normally don't take jabs.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah,
that's not
normal.
typical me, but I used to really bad. And a lot of times when you have, would you say a grudge? I won't say a grudge, but if you just have all these built up issues, things that bother you, things that you haven't addressed, you'll take jabs and you'll take stabs. You'll make low blows so that they know, because you want them to know that you're upset, you're hurt, you're mad.
Well, I think maybe it's the longer you like drag it out in hopes that it changes, but then it doesn't. So you just continue to kind of anger.
Right.
I think that
Right.
that could, maybe that could kind of give way to like taking those stabs,
Yeah.
rather, I don't know, just trying to think about how that could happen. I feel like.
So here's what happens in a fight if you do not come back together and work it out. Here's what happens. You will sweep it under the rug and you'll put a Band-Aid over it momentarily. You'll just put a Band-Aid over it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll cover it up. You will never deal with the problem if you don't sit down and fully work it out.
Well, and I think that again is one of the hard things to do because
hard.
Once you get through the fight, and I think we've been here, Lindsay and I, is that you just want to be over it. It's like, well, it's over. It should be over.
Right.
What's the big deal? But there's some fights, things happen that you're really going to have to address, because if you don't, a lot of times you can, create insecurity in your partner by
Right.
some of the things that you said. You can just leave wounds laying there that you really shouldn't. And
it
if you
becomes
do that long enough,
Right.
you're going to end up fighting more frequently because
You're not dealing with it.
addressing things that happen during that fight. And that's a really big part of it. And like, we haven't always done that.
No.
We haven't.
No, what was it? Was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago? It was our 10th year of marriage. And it was probably the worst year of marriage we'd had. That whole year. We had just a rough year of marriage.
Yep.
Work was successful. Business was successful. Our marriage was not. And it would be one little fight here that spiraled into something big that we didn't deal with. And then we do it again, and then we do it again until a point, and then we bring up the past fights and we would start it was not productive. It wasn't. And we got to a spot where we knew that if we were going to stay married and fix our marriage, because we didn't know if we were going to, that we had to say the past is the past. We're not allowed to talk about the past. We're not allowed to bring up that fight, 6 weeks ago. We're not allowed to keep score. And we actively had to work on what we were fighting about because we let it get to that point because we hadn't dealt with it. The first one started right before I went to do a session, and then that was what Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving. So everybody was coming over. So I come back and there was no dealing with it. And there's certain things that you have to say, time out, postpone, I don't want to ruin the holidays. I don't want to do this. But if we don't work on this, there may not be another holiday that we're together as a family. Like there may not be where we work this out. This right now is what's important. And if we take, an hour to work on this and talk about this so that everything else is better from this point on and there's no insecurities, there's no, no harsh feelings and resentment. A lot of times we build up resentment if we don't deal with fights.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot easier to not bring up the past, especially past fights, if you deal with them.
Right.
If you just leave them open-ended and never come back and say anything about it, it's a lot easier to bring it back up, because more likely
It's still bothering
you're
you.
still going to be harboring resentment from that. Maybe things that were said that there was just no closure on, you didn't talk to your spouse about. So it's a lot easier to let yourself dig that back up, because you never dealt with it
Right.
with your spouse. And it's not easy to do, but it will pay off, again, over the long run, as most things do.
And, you know, the thing is, like, it's really hard in the middle of yelling and screaming at each other to see each other's viewpoints, to see where the other person is coming from, or to admit that you see where the other person's coming from. And you really have to have that moment of, after it's all said and done, after, you know, you've had this argument, everybody's blood pressure's come back down, my eyeballs have gone back in my head, and Jamie's apologized the right way finally, that you have to talk calmly about these issues and really work to fix them.
Yeah.
You have to want to work to fix them. You have to talk through them. You can't just say, oh, it's over, it's done. Because it's not. And it never will be. Your marriage, you'll find yourself growing apart really quick. Maybe you're not fighting all the time, but you're going to find your marriage grows apart really quick if you're not dealing with those things, big or small. You know, if you think it's insignificant, if you're like, that's just not even important, that's not your job to make that decision for your spouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we don't get to downplay things that bother our spouses and that they think's a big deal. And we don't get to downplay that and tell them how we think they should feel. It's our job to try to have an open perspective, to see their viewpoint, even if we don't agree, but to understand.
Yeah, I think it's super important, and it's hard to do it in the middle of a fight. I think one of the best pieces of advice you could get during a fight, and if you really want to, I think you can head off getting into the big fight, is sometimes, and this is so cliche, but I can't remember who I've heard say it before, but things become cliche because they're true, because they work, they're time tested. But generally, if you will take a breath and think,
And walk away.
yeah, that. Or
just
when you're
take a
in the middle of
second.
the fight, yeah, if you'll take a breath, and also if you will really think before you speak, like before the words leave your mouth, think about what you're going to say. Think about, why is the other person upset? If you will give yourself that brief moment of clarity to try to act or try to figure out, put yourself in their shoes at that moment, you can really begin to head off some of the stuff. Sometimes it's not going to happen, okay? Sometimes that's not going to happen, but the more you do it, it can begin to happen more often than not.
Right.
Trying to see the other perspective and just taking a breath. Taking a breath.
Right. And trying to avoid an explosion, you know, where the word vomit just spews out. You know, if you need to go get on a treadmill, you need to go walk, you need to hit a punching bag, whatever you need to do to keep from getting to that point, that's what you have to do. Because once those words leave your mouth, there's no bringing them back.
No.
And
Very true.
so, you know, we've went over what you try to avoid in a fight. We've kind of talked about what to do and trying to really work on fixing it. You know, and there's a lot of different kinds of fights. You know, we have different dynamics, which we've talked about in the home, especially when you first get married or when you're trying to learn each other. There's the
different personalities.
Right. There's the hurt feelings, but it wasn't intentional fights. There's the, I'm a woman, and there's that time of the month, and there's things that you're just going to do. You're just, are not going to do. You're just not going to get it right, ever, during that time, probably. And we're not all the same, but I'm like that, and I know this about myself. And then there's the, let it steamroll fights, you know, the ones where it's one thing
Stuff's built.
and then there's another thing and you're like, nope, I'm just, this is
Snowball.
little, I'm not going to say anything. And then it snowballs into something big. And then it just, you just explode. You just explode. Like, you know, and call your husband your third kid. Our lights are flashing. You know,
Is
and
it
then
these
there's,
or those?
I don't know. And then
I keep
there's,
seeing it.
I know. And then there's the big fights. You know, the big fights, whether it's over your kids, over discipline your kids, over how you think you should raise kids, or finances, or, you know, no matter what it is, nobody gets to downplay those fights. Because even when it's that time of the month, and I know that I'm doing it, and I know I'm nitpicking, like, just growing our relationship is him not downplaying it. Don't you think?
You just learn it. Yeah.
And him just being like, I'm not going to
It's-
say that that's what it is, but just knowing.
Yeah. And that's a two-way. I think that's a two-way street, because you should not downplay situations. I think that there's a time where maybe you don't downplay it, but you learn to communicate with your wife that maybe, or your wife communicates with you. Maybe there's something that's really worked you up, or like it's for some reason got you tore up, and they see that it's not something that should be tearing you up that much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe rather than downplaying it, you know, like making them feel like it's not important and that it's dumb that they're mad, you try to find a way to communicate with them that, you know, it really isn't something you should allow to tear you up that much.
Yeah.
Trying to find a way
Like an
to speak to them so they don't feel like
fact, you know, an
so
outside factor
they
that's
don't
great.
feel like dumb, or like you just don't care or aren't
Mm-hmm.
concerned about it. And so you have to learn not to downplay it. And then you have to learn yourself too, if there are times or things that you know that have been silly or something that you've let really overrun you, you have to start making yourself more aware of that too. So there's always like this balance you got to try to keep, you know. And I think that's a two-way, if that makes sense. You
I
know?
mean, we have to examine ourselves first, you know. Are we the ones that are instigating it, starting it? Is there a reason for it? You know, you know, if you're the one, you have to really look and say, you know, I'm the one causing it. When Jamie said when he was getting ready to propose, he said, "Oh, you started some fights because it was never when you thought it should be." And so, you know, that's the thing. Like, it's really easy to like nitpick little things and make sure, like, especially when you're dating and not good enough and it should have been more. We have these, I want to call them princess expectations sometimes, and those can lead to big fights, really big fights. If you're, you know, whether you're dating, whether you're just got married, I think over the last 11 years, I mean, not that my expectations are low, but I think I've learned the difference between just that's not good enough and appreciating the little things.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that
Does
makes
that make
sense.
sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. And then
There comes the fun stuff.
yeah, so
And
you
I
know,
consider this a reward. A reward for working it out. So if you look at it like this, if you look at it as a reward and a celebration of yourself for working it out, a win-win for everybody, there's the perfect makeup lobstering.
yeah, you can have lobster.
And if you're not sure what lobstering means,
You need to refer back to the first two episodes.
the first 2 episodes about the S word. And so then
But that
everybody
it could be pretty
wins.
good coming out of that.
Everybody wins because you work out the tension, you work out the stress, you exercise, which gives you endorphins,
Releases those
and
endorphins.
you don't want to
Let out your inner
slap
animal.
the crap out of your husband. I was gonna say murder because that's what on Legally Blonde she says endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't kill their husbands. You know, but I didn't want to say that because then I didn't
But
want
you
him
did.
to think I was threatening him because I'm not.
But you did, so that's okay. I wouldn't have thought that.
So did we just work through this fight?
I think so. Yeah, I think. I mean, we have to. We know that we you got to address things like that. And it's really important. Like, so many people fight, do all the bad stuff, or go through all those steps, but then like they miss that one at the end. I think that's actually coming back together.
The coming back together, or the lobster part.
Well, I think you got to kind of come back together, and then you can lobster. You know what I mean?
We've not got to the lobster part yet.
No, we haven't done that yet. But you have to come back together before you have lobster, okay? Because you got to work. You have to work
Or if
that
you need to
stuff out.
lobster first, and then
You could do
after
that.
you've calmed down, talk about it.
You could totally flip.
Because maybe you
for
need
sure.
to just calm down first.
Yeah, maybe you just gotta let that out.
Yeah, but then
And
you have to
then-
talk about it. You can't just like,
Be like,
I'm tired now. It's over with.
oh, I was just talking in the morning.
You can't do that. You have to make a promise that if you put dessert before dinner,
Which,
if that makes sense.
who eats lobster for dessert?
Are you complaining?
I just did the we
Um,
do.
Or dinner before the appetizer, whatever. Something about lobstering makes me think of dessert. But but if you
That
do
is
that
true.
first, you have to make sure that you talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely, you do. And guys, fighting is going to happen. Okay, fighting is going to happen. You're going to have bad fights, probably all throughout your marriage. They can get fewer and far between, and hopefully they do. That's our hope, is that we always can get a little bit better, or somehow find a way to make a small step towards learning each other a little bit better, trying to gain something from the fight. Sometimes there's nothing to gain. I mean, sometimes it's just a nasty knockdown drag out that you got to work through. And we have to understand just how powerful our tongue is. We have to come to that realization that our words and the things that we say literally give or take life away.
Sure.
And I think once you understand just how powerful that tool is, you'll be a lot more cautious about how you use it.
I agree.
And sometimes that doesn't always happen, but I think when we really get hold of that, we'll really try to start being mindful of what we say, especially during fights.
Oh, I completely
Yeah.
agree. And the biggest reminder is never think it can't happen to you. Never think that it's just going to fix itself, that your marriage, it's going to be okay. We're married, we're going to work through it. No matter what fight we have, never think that it can't happen to you. And you have to be willing to do the hard things. And you have to know that if you're trying to work on your marriage, and you're trying to work on your family, and you're trying not to fight, when you're trying not to be when you're trying to be a better person, that's when the devil's like, no, sweetheart, you are psycho. And you're going to lose your shit on your husband. You're trying to be better, but you're going to lose your shit on your husband.
I'm going to make your husband call you psycho right now. And it's really going to be bad.
So the bottom line is,
happens.
I think you have to see the devil working in situations to tear your family apart, tear what you're trying to do apart, who you're trying to become, the examples you're trying to become. And remember, the devil doesn't win. And you have to have that, you have to say that to yourself. The devil doesn't win. He doesn't win in my marriage. He doesn't win in this fight. I'm going to suck it up, put my pride aside, and we're going to work it out in lobster, or we're going to lobster and then work it out.
He belongs under your feet. You also too have to acknowledge that you have a real enemy.
Yeah.
And he never stops working.
And he doesn't want your marriage to work.
It says it plain as day that he is here to steal and kill and destroy. And that's his only mission. And you know what? A lot of times, one of the biggest places I think he'll go to attack is the family. Because if he can get in there and begin to drive a wedge between mom and dad, and eventually get them just fighting, and then eventually get them separated, he's split the home. I mean, then he's starting to get a foothold. But I think he likes to go for the family.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he knows that because he knows that God has put a lot of weight in the family too.
And fighting is where it starts a lot of times. If
Yeah.
you're not careful, it just spirals.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true.
All right, you all.
That's
well,
it, guys.
that's it. We have enjoyed this Love and Marriage series with you all. Thank you so
It's
much
been a blast, guys.
for letting us do this with you all, for coming along, for learning all about our marriage and our life and our crazy stories and quirks, fights, tendencies. And we appreciate it. So thank you all so much. And we'll start another series soon. We will. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll start one soon, or I'll start one soon.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can find these on YouTube. They are on this page, but sometimes they're just easier to like look and see what each episode's about. And then you all, my podcast comes out, my very first one, March 1st. I'm so excited. I've been pre-recording. We have all of these recorded, so we'll eventually release these. And then Jamie's put me first. He's definitely put me first because we both had this goal.
There's a lot to learn about it, so we're trying to figure it out. But yeah, we'll both have one, but we are trying to figure out how to get it posted and
right.
And it's new to me. It's new to both of us. So
right.
Once we get a good system,
but yours is going to be geared more towards men.
Yeah, it is. So, and it's actually going to be me and a good friend of mine, and we'll probably do some together, some independently, interchangeable, but it's going to be geared towards men. And I just feel like that's important. I think that, like we've talked about, that women need women and men need men. And I think men have a harder time filling our roles more and more today. I feel that pressure. I think all men do. And you need that. You got to have a support system. Iron sharpens iron. So that's,
yes.
We're going to be just addressing that stuff. We're going to be intermingling stuff about art and in the world that we work in and live in with photography and stuff like that. I think it's going to be really cool. So, but we're working on just learning literally how to get good sound, get them posted up so you guys can find them in iTunes and Spotify and everywhere you can find a podcast. So hers will come March 1st, and then as soon as ours is ready to go, Lindsay will share that information.
And it's called Framed Up.
It's called Framed Up. And it's actually called Framed Up because we had an awesome lighting workshop going to happen last summer, and it just got the kibosh put on it.
COVID happened.
And it was going to be so great, but we'll talk about it in the first episode too, about like why Framed Up is the title of it, because it really has a lot of meaning behind it. So,
well, I'm super excited for you. I thank you for putting me first and letting me go first.
This is the stuff I like. I like trying to figure this stuff out. And I'm cool with it.
We will occasionally do some of our shows together.
Yeah,
we talked about
we'll
like once a month because I think that's good.
I think it's pretty good together.
We're pretty
offer
good.
Some good stuff.
I know, and we balance each other out.
Yeah, yeah.
We
really do.
You complete me. Thank you all so much. Be listening or watching for a post about the Framed Up podcast. They might
the last one.
remember we're very tired. But be watching. I will post when his podcast released because I know men, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna have some real man talk.
Real man.
Real man talk.
And I never was like a podcast guy. Like
No.
I was like, but I finally started listening to one, and it was with Andy Frisella, and I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
And it makes a big difference, a huge difference. And women, it'll make a big difference for you. Latch on to Lindsay's, because what you put in really dictates what starts to come out,
Yeah.
And I found that like when you have that time and you make time to like put some goodness in your ears, like when I'm walking or when we walk outside or something, it's a great time to just really listen and like soak up. And then take it and apply it. So like I'm sold out on them. I think it's a great thing to have access to. So.
Yeah, and I think you have to be very cautious as to what you put into your body and what literally into your earbuds, because it can affect you. It can affect your mentality. It can affect the way you feel about yourself. And you know, my podcast is hopefully going to give you all the things with Lindsay about life and about experience as mom that we can relate to, or as an entrepreneur, just needing that, not feeling like you're alone, or things that, you know, maybe you don't realize that a lot of people deal with or battle or go through anxiety, depression. But really and truthfully, my goal is to just help you all know that each and every day that you are capable of doing so much, that you're created for a purpose, and that you just need to be reminded of that every single day. And that is what mine will be doing. And I'll continue to do it on this page too. But I feel like the podcast, you know, just live sometimes gets missed, or you feel like you have to sit and watch it. And with podcasts, you can just plug
You've
in.
always got access to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's always there. So.
Right, it's on your phone. So thank you all again
Thank you
so
guys so
much.
much. It's been a blast.
It has, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
See you guys. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Knew it was coming. You'll have to push close where it.